How's it going, everyone? My name is Nick Clement with Access 4, and welcome to another episode of MSPland, where today we speak with Gordon Carr, Managing Director of Stellar Systems, a leading MSP based in Perth. I might be a bit biased when I say this, but you're absolutely in for a treat with this episode, and it's not just because we get into how Gordon has been growing with marketing. We cover Gordon's journey starting as a tech and growing into a business owner, the impact of joining industry peer groups to grow his business, and also, and most excitedly from my side, how he's been strategically investing into marketing for long-term gains. Let's jump into it. Gordon, welcome to the show. How are you going today?
Yeah, good, thank you. Thanks for having me come on. It's, great to have a chat.
No worries, no worries. We're doing it remotely today. Normally I have someone sitting next to me, but you being based over in Perth makes that a bit impossible this time around. But nonetheless, really excited about this chat today.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Yeah, sunny Perth. We're 40-degree weather at the moment, so in the air conditioning.
Oh, there you go. I mean, I thought we were having good weather in Melbourne. We had a few 30-degree days, but I think today it's topping out at 22. So I don't really know what to expect.
Classic Melbourne weather.
That's it. That's it. So
yeah,
cool. So maybe just to get started for everyone who's listening, can you tell us a bit about yourself and about Stellar Systems just to get going?
Yeah, sure. So I'm the Managing Director of Stellar Systems. I have been since 2016. We're a managed service provider based in Perth, Western Australia, servicing small, medium businesses, majority based in Western Australia, though we do look after some national organisations across Australia, doing all the classic managed services, consulting projects, some security stuff, obviously some IPTEL with Access 4. And hosting and cloud and things like that. So yeah.
Yeah, nice. So one of the things I learned before we came in to this show today was that you actually started with Stellar way back as a tech, and then eventually worked your way up to being the managing director, which I think is an incredibly interesting sort of journey, and one I haven't really come across too much. So I'd love to know, I guess, how did you first get in with Stellar, and what was that journey that led you from being a tech to actually becoming the managing director?
Yeah, so I've been with Stellar for a long time. So I joined the organisation in 2002, believe it or not. So way back. Out of school, I had a keen interest in technology. At the time, a company called 3Com, they don't exist anymore, a networking company. There was a big gap in knowledge around networking. So they were sponsoring some courses. So I did that. Started my career in a small consulting firm, working on the San Francisco and Singapore transit systems, the IT designs of that. Did that for a few years. It was very interesting, but wasn't very hands-on. So it was more just design. Mm-hmm. So I started a role at Stellar Systems as a tech, and back then we were a very different organisation, a lot smaller and more ad hoc based. And just worked my way up from there. And in 2012, I had the opportunity I was given an offer of buying shares within Stellar, which from the founder, which was a great opportunity. I think there was a couple of staff members that were provided that offer, and I think for him it was a way of ensuring that key people stayed within the business. I guess that was a risk that he saw, that if some key people left, then that puts the business at risk. So he looked at shareholdings, offering some shareholdings to some team members. And that was done via a what's called a vendor finance arrangement. So we provided the shares. The dividends that are paid out over the coming years were then used to pay back the original founder. Mm-hmm. So that was a great opportunity for us. So that was myself, Mike, and one other gentleman was offered that. We got 40% of the company. And then over time, that third person decided to drop out. He thought business ownership wasn't for him, so it's definitely not for everybody. Um, and then in 2016, we looked to buy out the original founder of his remaining shares. So we put that off on the table, bought out his shareholdings, and I'm now 50-50 with my business partner, Mike. So it was a long journey.
Quite a journey. I mean, I got to ask, do you miss having your hands on the tools you would have been for, I guess, more than 15 years?
Yeah, yes. Some days I do, and some days I don't. I mean, the technology changes so quickly. It's amazing how, even since 2016, how out of touch now I sometimes feel compared to some of the young techs. But I always have that interest in technology, and always, we're a technology company, so we need to be across what's happening. So I'm always, I guess, dabbling and finding out what's the latest and greatest and the service offerings we're doing. But it is a change. But for me, I've always had that interest in the business side of things. So for me, I love the business side of the work I do, and wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, because I was going to say, like, moving from a tech to moving into management and eventually ownership, it's a very different mindset you had to have. So it was you always just had a sort of interest of running and owning your own business and upskilling yourself to be able to sort of have, I guess, the overall skill set to be able to run a business like Stella.
Yes, I mean, for me, that's always been an interest. My dad comes from a accounting CFO background, so kind of got support from him, and seeing that type area of business, and then as you even just as a shareholder, just starting to get that understanding of what's involved of running a business, what the numbers look like, what gross margin is, all those type of things. As a tech, they just they mean nothing, or you don't even realize they exist. But for me, it's fascinating, and I really enjoy seeing how the decisions that we can make in management as a business owner, what impact they can have, both to our team, our clients, the business overall.
Yeah, okay. So the transition from, say, the tech role into getting a part of the ownership, what was the biggest thing that you struggled with? Was it around the numbers side of thing, understanding how a business works? Was it the management side of things? Because I imagine you would have been facing new challenges almost every single day as part of that journey.
Yes, yeah. I mean, so probably the biggest learning curve straight away is the numbers, because as a tech, you're not necessarily seeing them, and trying to understand what those numbers are and how all that works, what a balance sheet is, what a P&L is, how the numbers come to be. That's a big learning curve. But I think once you kind of get the handle of that, I think the next biggest challenge is the people challenge. So then managing and working with people is it can be it's something that you have some natural ability at, but also something you need to build your skills on. So a muscle you need to flex and build up, I think, is that the people skills. So that, I think, was the other big challenge for me. Is doing that, and there's so many variables with people. numbers can be easy to master, the numbers of the numbers, but people can be the difficult one.
Oh, cool. That's so interesting. And I mean, I guess since you started back in early 2000 to now, just from I guess, overall industry and technology perspective, there would have been so much change you would have seen, transition to the cloud, more recently with COVID. I mean, for you, what's been the most impactful sort of change in the industry that you've seen since you've got started?
Yeah, I think for me, the biggest impact has been the move from ad hoc IT support to managed services. I think that has really, it's been a while now, but when we were ad hoc, it was very, I guess, a reactive style business. Somebody has an issue, they call you up to fix the problem, you send them a bill. And moving to managed services where you're partnering with your customer, you're proactively monitoring their environment, you're In an ad hoc scenario, the more things that break, that's better for you, the more money you make. Where in a services, you want it the opposite. You want as little things to break to make your services as efficient as possible. So for me, that is definitely I think the biggest change since I've been involved in the IT industry. Probably the next biggest was around the move to cloud. I think that was another big shift in the way we do things. The move away from on-premise infrastructure, Microsoft Exchange servers. I'm glad we don't have to deal with those anymore. To things like Microsoft 365, and I think from the client's perspective, products like Microsoft 365 and cloud is it really enables them to do a lot more with technology than what they had ever been able to do with, say, an on-premise server.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And surprisingly, there's still plenty of businesses today still using on-premise gear and still need to go on that journey to the cloud, which I think is what COVID probably revealed the most for a lot of businesses who are sitting on legacy stacks.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we still have clients on premise, but I think slowly but surely everybody's kind of seeing the advantages and moving as much as they can to especially SaaS-based products now. It makes it so easy for them. You're paying a monthly subscription, and you don't even have to run the infrastructure in the background.
True. And yeah, I mean, what you were saying around the sort of industry's transition from break fix ad hoc work to managed services, like what do you think the core drivers of that was? Was it customer and client demand just being more, I guess, security focused and more about staying up, having that sort of robust platform, or was it more about the technology and what the vendors were releasing that enabled more of this sort of subscription sort of model?
I think it was probably a combination of both. I think as IT environments got more sophisticated, even at small, medium business, they became a bit more complex, and they needed a bit more involvement from their IT support company. And as from an IT support business, it was very hard in a break fix scenario to do a good job, I think. Like even a backup fails, so you get an alert. If it break fix, you got to contact the client. You got to get it approved to get it resolved. And then the tech's worried more about how big the bill's going to be than actually trying to solve the problem properly. And so I just don't think that way of working was going to work well long term. I don't think the customer was going to get the service that they needed to in a more complex IT environment. So from I think that perspective, that's was the biggest driver. From an MSP point of view, it also made being able to skill up and put resource in place much easier, because if we knew what our revenue was going to be every month, we could plan a lot better. We could make sure we put the right type of people in place. We can ensure we've got the training in. We can invest in the tools that we need to deliver that proactive service. Where break fix, you pretty much had very little idea how much revenue was going to come in month to month, because it really depended on what broke in that month.
That's it. That's it. Yeah, predictable recurring revenue. It's the dream, right? And when you're living in the break fix world, you're kind of more beholden to whatever your cash flow situation is at the time. But once you've got more of those managed service agreements in, you've got more recurring revenue coming in. You can actually forecast, as you said, you can invest more, knowing that it's the revenue is going to remain there, sort of thing, and allows you to make those proactive decisions rather than being reactive.
Yep, absolutely. And I think that was a huge game changer for us, and really allowed us to mature our business, which I think a lot of businesses in break fix environment just struggle to do.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. So I understand that, I guess, throughout this process, as Stella's been growing, you've also been investing in yourself and are a part of the ConnectWise Evolve peer groups. So many of our partners, across the country are involved in these groups. I'd like to hear your side of things, I guess, of what is the value you get out of these peer groups, and why did you sort of originally decide to sort of partner up with them?
Yeah, sure. Interesting enough, ConnectWise Evolve peer groups is how we heard about Access 4.
Yeah.
They were a sponsor and did our lunch and learn, and the rest is history. But yeah, we were involved. We've been involved in ConnectWise peer group since 2019. Um, and the reason we joined is we felt, I'd been managing director for a few years now. We've been growing, but it was really hard to know what we were doing well and what we were not doing well at. And is there better ways we could be doing things? And I was thinking, look, if there is a group of people I can talk to, they've made the mistakes already, so I can chat to them. I don't have to make those expensive mistakes. That might help accelerate our growth, improve our business. So yeah, joined in 2019, and for our business, I think it's probably one of the best things we've done for our business. It's really I think accelerated our growth. It's made us a more profitable business. It's made us a more mature business. And I know that there's a couple of vendors that now do peer groups in Australia, and I couldn't recommend a peer group enough to an MSP out there. If you're thinking about it, I'd give it a go because it really has made a huge impact to our business.
Oh, that's good to hear, because it's really just like a sounding board, right? I think when a lot of business owners are sort of in their own bubble, just in the trenches every single day, grinding away, it's sometimes hard to how that actually stacks up to others, or just validating the decisions that you're making are actually the right decisions, and having that sort of sounding board of other peers who are either done it before or are going through the same sort of thing as you. I can only imagine it provides a whole lot of support.
Yeah, absolutely. You kind of think about it as your board.
Yeah.
So quarterly, you're meeting with your board.
Yeah.
They're keeping you accountable to your goals. Have you been doing the things that you said you were going to do? You're comparing your financials. Some things that you thought you were doing great at, you realize, oh, actually, I could be doing a lot better. And some things you thought, oh, are we doing okay? And you go, oh, actually, we are. We're doing okay. So I think, to get where we are now, I think it would have taken twice as long if we didn't have a group of peers that we were talking to about it, and helping us or helping each other improve our businesses. And I think at the end of the day, the outcome's great for the clients as well, because they're starting to deal with more mature businesses that are offering better services than potentially somebody who's not
Yeah.
in a peer group.
No, that's good to hear. And I think one of the things that I've really liked to and have observed from your business, especially lately, is that you have been also making some more increased investments into marketing as well, or at least I've seen more case studies, proactiveness on social media and other things like this. And, marketing is something that a lot of MSPs struggle with, a lot of our partners struggle with. They don't necessarily know where to start, how to approach it, what do I invest in first, how do I measure success? So I'd like to hear about, I guess, a bit about your marketing journey, and how did you start making decisions about investment, and how do you sort of measure the success of that?
Yeah, so I mean, it's probably a very similar story to a lot of other MSP and businesses, where we grew a lot organically through referrals, and we still do. We still grow through referrals, but we found as we've gotten to a certain size, referrals is not quick enough, or it doesn't bring enough growth that we need to keep on growing at the size we want, the speed we want to be growing. So we looked at that and said, look, referrals are great. We still want them coming in, but we need to get ourselves out there a bit more to start attracting, I guess, clients from outside of the network of people we know. And we also were getting feedback from even referral business when we started chatting to the potential clients. They're like, you guys sound amazing, you look amazing, but we hadn't heard of you before. So we were like, oh, well, we need to get ourselves out there into the market. And we knew we didn't have the time internally or the knowledge internally to be able to achieve what we wanted to ourselves. So we looked to partner with outside organisations to help us with marketing strategy and implementation.
Mhm.
So we worked with an external company to build I guess, a marketing plan and strategy. And we quickly worked out that we thought it's better not to just try and appeal to everybody. We thought it was better to focus on some certain industries. Yeah, being referral based, previously, a lot of the referrals we get were within the same industry. So we had, by default, a few clients in certain industries, which for us turned out to be construction engineering and not-for-profit organisations. So we thought, though we look after organisations across all industries, let's focus our marketing efforts on specific industries where we have some really good stories to talk about in those industries where not every MSP is in depth with those industries, so it's a differentiator for us. We know how to talk the language of those companies within those industries. One of the first things we did was we got 4 key clients, 2 in each industry, and put some detailed case studies together around those, what we've done for those organisations. And that's just to show other companies within those industries that we know what we're talking about. We've achieved results. We know the pain points that they have, and we have experience in addressing those pain points.
No, look, I love that, and like what you're saying is actually what I talk to our partners about so much, right? It's like the first part of that marketing that I think is really effective for so many MSPs is to really understand who your customers are and who your ideal customer is. Because once you know that and you can really drill into targeting and having direct conversations with other similar customers, that's when, as you said, your story is really going to resonate. They can see that you have the experience in this space, you understand what the pain points are, and you can solve the problems that they sort of have. And it means then that you can also be really efficient with your marketing spend, right? Because you're putting
Yep.
spend against those industries where you know that your value proposition is quite powerful. So that's really great to hear. How do you typically measure success when it comes to these sort of marketing investment? Because typically, and so many of our partners that I sort of speak with, they have the similar sort of story where they want to do marketing. They think they got to go start spending a lot of money on paid media and Google ads and all this sort of stuff, and they do spend a lot of money, but they get nothing out of it. But
Yep.
sort of approach that you have, it's not necessarily the direct response, let's get a lead and then convert that lead. It's more about building your brand, your authority, and so forth. So how do you, as a business owner, sort of view that investment overall and the return that you get from it?
Yeah, I mean, from our point of view, we wanted to invest in, I guess, long-term marketing. So as you're right, it's not just investing in some Google ads to get some people to click on it and convert straight into leads. For the type of clients we're wanting to work with, I don't necessarily think that's really going to work. So ours is building our brand within those industries. So when the time is right that they are looking for somebody to help implement some IT projects, or they're wanting to speak to an organisation about managed services, that we are one of the first people they think of to contact to have those conversations. And that's not a short-term, a bit of work. That's you got to build that up over a long term. So things we're looking at, we're monitoring constantly is things like, is that growing? Is that growing within the industries of who we're targeting? Are we getting more inquiries? A new inquiry comes in, we always ask how they heard about us. Those type of things are things that we're tracking to make sure that we're that marketing is working. And you'll be amazed at what pops up, that somebody mentions, oh, I saw this post about something that you would think resonates, that really resonated with them, and they've reached out to you when the time is right. So it's amazing how it works.
Yeah, like honestly, I'm so happy to hear you talk about this because it's such a common conversation I sort of have in terms of, you don't want to invest in short-term clickbait lead gen marketing. You want to be investing in your brand, investing in your value proposition, building authority, because that's how buyers buy, right? You're selling
Yep.
managed service contracts. You're not selling shoes, right? Um,
Yes.
95% of all buyers at any one point are not in market for a service. So if you're
Absolutely.
only if you're only spending money on Google Ads, you maybe will come across that 5% who are actually in market, but it means that 95% of the market who isn't in active buy mode right now, you're completely ignoring.
Yep.
So why not instead market to that 95%? You get the bigger pool of potential customers, and when they do have a problem and they do have that compelling event, as you said, you're front of mind and they're reaching out to you first.
Yeah, and yeah, I think that's really important. We're selling complex services here, which have a long sales process to before somebody signs off, and you really need to be out there building brand, being a thought leader. So as you said, when they're ready, they talk to you, and some of that trust has already been built up.
Yep, exactly right, exactly right. And then, I think for anyone who's ever tried to sell to a lead that you might have got over Google Ads, it's hard because they probably barely know who you are. They might have randomly clicked on an ad just because of a fleeting moment based on a
Yep.
problem that they think they might have. But the other way around, it means when they're ready to have that conversation, they know exactly what their problem is, and they probably know how you can solve it. And that sales cycle then becomes a lot easier, sort of thing. It's you're
Yep.
still selling a complex service, and there's still work to be done, but it incredibly helpful for smoothing out those sales cycles.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that those short-term marketing campaigns on Google AdWords and things like that, all they bring in is people that have been asked by their boss to get two or three alternative quotes, and you're just being used as an alternative quote. They already know who they're going with.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And like I think there definitely still is a place for paid media, but I think it's once you have more wins with marketing, once you know exactly who your ideal customer profile is, once you know
Yep.
exactly what the right message is, where they are, all this other thing, so you can really target that message, that's when layering in
Yep.
paid media in the right channels starts to make sense. But until you've got the fundamentals down, you know what your strategy is, you know who your customers are, it's really hard to get a win from these sort of paid media channels.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. And so you sort of mentioned, having that specific industry sort of focus. How did you go about actually selecting those industries? Was it purely based on the existing customers you already had in those industries, or did you actually specifically target an industry based on the potential growth that you might have seen?
For us, it was around the experience we had with existing clients around those industries. So we knew that we had some great stories to tell around that specific industry. We did look at those industries and go, construction engineering, not for profit, are both, I guess, growth areas. Both of those areas are growing, so there's potential there. We looked at their requirements for engaging managed service providers. Some industries are more likely to than others. If you think about, so some retail situations, they don't necessarily have a lot of compute. A lot of MSP work where things like not-for-profit construction and engineering have big, computer footprints and complex IT requirements that they need to engage us for. So, we looked at those and we thought, yep, these are the two out of all the industries that we work with that we want to focus on.
Yeah, cool. Makes sense. Cool. So I guess talking about growth and talking about what's coming up next,
Yep.
we've talked a bit about the some of the main challenges that you've had and the sort of key drivers in the industry in the past. What do you think is coming up in the next 5 to 10 years? What do you think is going to be the next big thing that anyone who's running an MSP should start to get across?
Yeah, I mean, 10 years is a long time in MSP world, so
True.
it's even hard for me to predict what will happen in 10 years. But I think over the next, say, 5 years, I think there is going to be a lot of focus on delivering our standard services more efficiently and cost effective. I think providing good IT support, system uptime, all those things we've been doing for years, clients just expect now as the very basics. And for that reason, they're probably going to be willing to pay less for it. So we need to be able to deliver those services. So things like automation is going to be a huge component of what we're investing in. And I think a move back to more service IT consulting. I think over the last kind of 10 years, MSPs have focused a lot on recurring revenue, which is fantastic, but their consulting has kind of dropped off a little bit as they focused on that recurring revenue services. But things with like AI and the investment businesses are making there, it's more a consulting piece. It's about sitting down with those businesses, understanding their processes, things like AI or even automation for the client will help them deliver their services or their products better than what they're doing. So they're more looking for a partner to help them in not just keep the lights on, but help them run their businesses better. And I think that's going to be a struggle getting the teams to adjust to that type of work. It is very different to a lot of the work that's being done now. And just because you're a great tech doesn't mean you're necessarily a great consultant. So that's a huge adjustment for MSPs over the next 5 years. And I think it's necessary that we do that. Otherwise, I think organizations in other areas are going to take some of that work away from us.
Yeah, and like I think as you said, right, just with how quickly this industry moves and with how quickly technology advances, customers are going to struggle with it, right? They're not going to know what the right decisions are to make. They're not going to know the impact of AI on their business other than some of the fluffy things that they might see in the news, right? So having someone who's a trusted advisor to not only, as you said, keep the lights on, but also guide them on where to make their next steps or their next technology purchases or just the fundamentals of how they run their business. I can see why that's going to be incredibly important.
Yes, absolutely. And I think we're in a great position that our clients are going to be asking us first to help them. We just need to make sure we're ready to be able to provide those services, and we're skilling up ourselves to ensure that we can deliver those successfully.
And like, in the break fix world, that would have probably never happened, or you'd probably never have enough of that sort of confidence with the customer where they would actually come to you with these larger, longer term scale issues and problems that they don't know how to answer.
Exactly. I mean, back in the break fix days, we were just seen as a computer shop, I guess, a fancy computer shop. But now I think we're definitely seen as business partners, and we're seen as more holistic technology companies that they can lean on to help them improve their business and get that advice that they need.
Stuff. Cool. All right. Well, I think we'll come to the end of our conversation. So for anyone who's out there who might want to get in touch with you, what's the best way they could reach out?
Yeah, I think the best way is probably to connect with me on LinkedIn. Feel free, connect, send me a message. Happy to chat to any MSP owners out there that are just wanting to talk about the industry or bounce ideas. So just reach out.
Cool. Sounds good. Thanks again for the conversation today, Gordon. I especially love the talk about marketing. I'm really so impressed with your sort of perspective and your approach on this, because I think it's what every single MSP should realistically be reflecting. So you're ahead of the pack right now. So really impressed. Thanks.
Well, my recommendation to anybody out there is just give it a go. You have to start somewhere.
That's it. All right. Okay. Thanks, mate. You have a good rest of the day, and we'll talk again later.
You too. See you later.